Welcome to part 2 of our Making the Floor into Lava tutorial. If you missed part 1, please click here. Otherwise, continue. I'm going to add in some steam and fire. And for this, I'm going to turn to my good old friend, Action Essentials. So in here, they have a couple different things that I'm going to try. I'm going to load in the atmosphere, stock footage. I'm going to load in some fire stock footage. I just need a couple of these small fires. I'm going to throw them into stock too. And I'm also going to grab some of the dirt charges actually have fire at the end of them. So I think dirt charge 9 I like because it has this fire, this cool little burst that kind of does that. And that's a pretty nifty looking one. So I'm going to steal that for sure. I think some of these other ones have a little bit of fire in them as well. Yeah, those are just sparks. But a really great package and totally worth getting. It is very affordable. So I really want just that little burst of flame from it. I'm going to pre-comp this element. I'm going to skip forward until this fire is starting to appear. Create a little animated mask around it. Now, I don't need to do a crazy bunch of a crazy number of keyframes to get this to work, I don't think. Now obviously this was designed to be a charge on the ground or something like that, so it has little ground elements, but I really just want these airborne, fiery, and atmospheric sections from it. Key my feather size to get a little bit bigger toward the end there. There we go. Awesome. So a little charge of fire, which is pretty exciting. So I'm going to rename this comp fire. Now it'll be fun to scroll through this and kind of find when James points down to the ground, he says the floor is lava. I'm going to add in one fire charge right then. I'm going to turn this into a 3D layer. It's going to automatically put it right here next to the corner of that couch, which is perfect. I'll change the anchor point of it to be kind of grounded at the bottom like it is. Turn it up right so it's sort of facing camera. Now as we scroll forward, right as James says, the floor is lava. I have this flame burst right up there, and I think that's going to be kind of exciting. Just for fun, I can change the blending mode to add. See what that looks like. Little bright. So maybe that's too extreme. Let's try screen instead. Maybe I'm just going to change it to normal. These have already been pre-keyed by Video Copilot, which is cool. I just don't like that little bit of a halo I'm getting around it. That's actually the dust. So I'm going to do a slight key on it. Just do a Luma key out the darker by a little bit. And I'm going to feather it. Okay, so James is going to say, because the floor is lava. Lava. It'll be this little burst of flame to introduce the idea of this fire. Right before he jumps. It's a great jump, buddy. Now, it actually looks like the scale on my fire is wrong. This is designed to be a little bit bigger. You can tell by how slow it's moving. since the anchor point is down here on the bottom anyway, I can actually scale up the fire. Actually, I don't like that. I do like the look of it, so I'm going to just Control-Alt-T does a time remap, and I'm going to stretch it to be a little bit faster. That'll make it look like a quick burst of flame as opposed to a graceful flowing flame. Okay, now we just scroll through, see if there's any natural point where the boys maybe pause. Looks like not really, so I'm just going to stick with finding some other spots to put some flames in here. I'm going to duplicate this flame, change its time, remapping it a little bit, put another one of them kind of forward over here, flip it around the other direction, put it off screen over here somewhere. So as we get to this corner, there's a little bit of flame activity just off camera. I like that. I'm going to change the blending mode to screen on this one. Now I'm going to look at some of that other stock that I had here. Under atmospheres, there are a couple of fun ones, and they basically have this spray of smoke and then they hover for a second, which is kind of neat. So I'm going to scroll through and see if any of these feel like the right size for what I want. Not quite. That one's kind of pretty. It has a lot of different bursts of smoke. This one looks kind of like a little cloud chamber. Really turbulent. And this one I believe is stuff coming from the top. Okay. We're just gonna go with the first choice now, because I really like the point at which somewhere around here, 10 seconds in. So I'll say 10 seconds in. I'll drag that closer to the front. Let's see, when is the lava revealed? Lava starts to be revealed around here. So that'll be just fine. The 10-second point that I like starts around here. I'm going to scrub that forward so this ends at the same time as my comp. Change it to a 3D layer. Reorient it a little bit. Just trying to orient it so it's sort of aligned with the floor so I can guess where it's going to be. And when I scroll to the end of it, I'll say that the smoke is hovering kind of around here. Scale it up, rotate it. I'm going to move it up again so it fits the screen. So now it's putting this slight atmospheric smoke in the air. I'm going to change the color of it by doing a fill. Right now it default fills it with red, which looks kind of neat, but I'm going to go for more of a orangey peach. Maybe the red was kind of neat. Go closer to an orange. I think that this atmosphere needs to key on, so its opacity should be pretty close to 0 at the beginning, and then the camera will move back probably through it, and it can start to become opaque at that point. Again, I'll add some ease keyframes to this stuff, because why not? Now play through. And you'll see that it's really subtle, but there's just this little bit of movement in the atmosphere. I think when it plays back, you'll be able to track it a little bit better with your eyes, but it just makes it feel like this room is a little bit more hot and that they're a little bit more in the middle of this lava event going on. So yeah, lots of red, a few flames here and there now. It definitely makes it feel like this space is a little bit more dangerous and hot. It's quite easy to go overboard with all of this red stuff. So I might tone it down a little bit, but honestly, I really kind of like the goofiness of it. You can go watch the intro to Into Darkness and see how much red and sparks they're using there to create their lava flows, or episode 3, I suppose, and that stuff goes crazy. Yeah, lava floor. Alright, this could use a few more flames in here. I think that those really helped the first version of this video. Here's a nice little fire bar being blown by the wind. These are all a little bit windy for the space, so I'm going to stick with, I think this one was maybe the least windy looking. Great, fire 2. I'm going to use some of my old tracking points to help place this a little bit more exactly, because this one will be easier to tell if it's locked to a specific point. So I'll go to my footage, I'll go to the camera tracker effect. I can zoom in and kind of say I want the fire to be kind of near this point. Create, whoops, highlight that, then create a null object. Perfect. If I disconnect that from the camera, when I reveal its position, it gives me a true location of that spot. I'm going to copy that and paste it to that fire bar that I'm going to bring in here. So fire 2, let's bring it in. I'll put it down here a little bit because it can be one layer above the ground. Make it 3D, paste that location. Right now it'll paste that whole piece of footage right there. All I need to do is adjust the anchor point so the kind of bottom line of the fire is sort of aligned with the couch. Now I can mess with the rotation a little bit. It feels like it should be rotated about that much and about this much. I'll see if I'm correct by looking at this original null point and seeing if I'm interacting with it. I'm going to press F11 to switch to an alternate camera view. This is very confusing, but what this is the whole 3D space, where you should be able to see that I have this fire card touching the corner of this null. And right now, what I want to do is make sure that the fire is pointed in the direction of this original null. So an easy way to do that is, again, in this custom view, I can swivel around until null A or null 1 and 2 are kind of aligned. Then if I take my fire and I rotate it so you can't really see it, that means that it's pointed correctly toward the other fire. Now when I press F12, it snaps back to here. I know that this is aligned more properly. I can turn its Z value a little bit. And now if I want to move this back and forth in space, you can see that it's moving right along the bottom of the couch, which is kind of cool. So that's the type of alignment that I wanted, but the flames look a little bit too big to me right now. So I'm going to change them to be a little bit smaller, drag them forward a little bit like that. And I'm going to scroll back to around here. Look at what they're doing. It looks like the flames come all the way out to here at points, so I'm going to scrub this whole thing like that, a little bit up. And I'm going to create a mask. So I'm just getting the fire in kind of the corner over here. Feather that a teeny bit. Doesn't matter that much. Play with the blending mode. We'll see if screen just makes this too bright and uncolorful. Yeah, it does. So I'm going to make a duplicate of it. Blending mode, add. You'll see I'm leaving that original there just so some of the color gets preserved a little bit. This sometimes works well when you're trying to add something that has color in front of something that is otherwise pretty white or doesn't have much color. Now I can futz with these two pieces to try to get something that looks bright but still has some color value in it. So if I put a little fire on that side of the couch, let me see if Evan or anyone ever steps in front of it. It looks like not. So we're in the clear. I'm all for placing things where you don't have to really mess with keying them out. There's a little bit of drift, so I'm going to add some positional keys. I selected them both and did position on both. They look good here. They look bad. When they first appear, they look too far down. I'm going to scoot them up to meet the couch. That looks fine. Luckily, fire is really organic anyway, so it's a little bit harder to resolve. But now when we get down to here, the fire bar is way too high already. So I'm just going to drag that back down again. Great. So now I've got this kind of flames going at the bottom of this couch here. Now that I have an object that's just in the right spot here, what I could do is create a new solid. I can place it right where those pieces of fire are. Ooh, there's my atmosphere again. Make it a 3D layer. Copy the position and rotation of these fires. Paste it onto this. That's cool. Now I can create a little mat. See a little circle mat right here of black. Feather it out. And what this is going to become is I'm going to use this as an alpha mat for another copy of this foreground footage. Watch this. Use that as an alpha mat. So it's going to be revealing the couch in front there. I actually want it behind these. But now on this particular section of foreground, I can add in a brightness and contrast effect that is slowly starting to darken this couch like it was getting burned by this flame, which is kind of cool. So we have a 3D solid tracking through space. It has a mask on it that is being used as a mask, an alpha reveal, for a section of foreground that I am turning the contrast way up on. So kind of cool. So by the end of this, it should look like the couch is kind of burned up, which is neat. Drag this thing out to look like it's burning the whole bottom of it here. And then I'm going to set some keyframes on the brightness and contrast there. I can reveal those just so you can see. And then as I scroll back toward the beginning, earlier I can have them not as burned. I can have this all reset so it looks kind of normal. Maybe there's a little bit of darkening starting to happen at this point. And then just watch. As this flame kind of works on the couch, you'll start to see that the couch looks like it's getting a little bit darker in some of those areas. A little bit like it's getting charred and burned up by that fire. I think that works nicely. The scale is a little bit off, but maybe we can fix that. Make this a little bit bigger. I think the speed won't look as slow-mo for the relative scale. Fire is a tricky thing to get right. Whenever you're bringing in these stock footage pieces of fire, you should really play with the scale and play with the playback speed to try to make sure that you could plausibly imagine a fire flicking at whatever speed it is in your movie. It looks like, because these flames are coming up so high along this couch, I'm going to change the mask path to go from here to start to maybe wander up this couch a little bit. Kind of like a scorch pattern. I think that'll work. It's very loose and organic, so it doesn't matter a whole ton. The only last thing that we're missing from here are lava bursts or splashes. Now I had them in my video, and so I should probably add one in to this second one as well. Now, Action Essentials has some great splashes in it, water splashes. So let's take a look at these. These are their Water Blast selection from Action Essentials. So there's kind of cool shapes. I mean, in slow-mo, you really do get kind of this lava-like effect. I think I definitely used that one in the first video. I'm going to pre-compose this in a new, make it its own composition, that is. I'm going to color correct it. Use toner. Let's change it to reds and yellows. Cool. So now that I've done that, I'm going to, lava is a little bit more stringy, and a lot of these fine particles wouldn't really happen, so I'm going to try applying a matte choker to it. I'm going to change the softness to a little bit lower. I'm going to turn the choke down. And what you end up with is, you'll see if I have this all the way back, you see all those fine points, but if I turn it back just a little bit, you get just these stringy, kind of gooey sections of it. There are these little sparkles, of course, but I might be able to take care of those with another couple of matte chokers. I'll simple choke out the big ones. I'll turn up the softness on this a little bit. So now what I'm left with is there's a little bit of sparkly nature still, but just a 1 pixel matte choker leaves you with this kind of nice little burst here. I'll do a little bit less. I like that part of it. Blub. It looks like as we get this high, I'm going to key my matte choker to turn up because I don't like this sparkly falling stuff. It doesn't feel very natural for lava. But this first burst looks good. And then right as it starts to turn from liquidy to sparkly, I'll try to choke the matte down. Boom. Now it looks like that'll work well. Okay, so let's bring in that splash. Let's turn it 3D. Let's find where it splashes big. I'll rotate this around. I'll change its anchor point to be closer to the bottom. Again, that's always nice because then if you want to scale something up, you can just grab the handles and it'll scale up right from the bottom. I remember this was playing in slow motion, so I'm going to time remap, make it play a little bit faster. I'm going to put this in the foreground here. I like doing whatever I can to make it so some of the stuff is layered up front. That way you have elements comped behind the characters, elements comped in front of the characters and around them. And I think, honestly, as long as you're making a home video style special effect, one of the reasons why I think a lot of them are successful is because of keying stuff behind characters. That's harder to do for sure, but it does make the effects feel a little bit more married and really puts these guys in the space, which is cool. So there we go. Look at that dangerous lava floor. I really like the way this one's turning out. So This burst of lava could maybe be a little bit brighter, because I almost don't even see it. There we go. Maybe I can duplicate it and throw another one of them over here somewhere at a different point in the video. Maybe I'll even combine it with this. Heck. Let's see, I'll throw this right under this fire burst. Play it so it's splashing up. Right as that fire is splashing up, I'll move through 3D space. Really, its position should be 960 by 540, 0. Let's see what that initial splash looks like now. Okay, there's the fire. It's followed by a little bit of lava splash. That's kind of cool. Oh, James. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up here, I think. I may add an embellishment or two once I've played it back a few times, but otherwise, to recap, the way we accomplished this was we took our original footage of these guys jumping on these pillows. We did a rather painstaking process of motion tracking and then using the motion tracking data to help assist us cutting out all of these foreground elements to leave us with a nice clean plate. We then combined that with the original tracked camera and threw in this ground plane of lava and little bubbles and stuff. We layered in glows and stock footage of fire and flames and smoke and added in a few glowy effects to really spill this light onto our characters. And the combination of all that is leading to this really great glowy lava environment right in the middle of a living room. So thank you again, everybody, for joining me for this. I would love to see you guys change your floors to lava in a video with any of your kids or with yourself. Why not? But have fun. I'm really excited to see them. Please tweet them at me. Feel free to post links under this video, and I'll try to unspam them for you. Throw them on my Facebook page. All of that stuff is really wonderful to see. I hope you really enjoy the rest of your day. This is Action Movie Dad signing off. Hey everybody, I'm back. I thought I was wrapping this up, but now that I've thought about it for a second, I want to add one other little touch, which might be something like a chair sinking into the lava over here. I think that could be kind of cool. So, let me show you that process. So, we are going to go to Turbo Squid. I'm going to look for a kid chair. And a little reading table and chairs and stuff. That looks pretty good. Perfect. I just need this chair from it. And it comes in an OBJ format. That's what I need for it to work with Element. So let's download this free one. Let's show all the objects. I just need the OBJ. Let's download that right to my Lava Elements 3D stuff. Great. We're going to pop into Cinema 4D. I'm going to open my EvanTube VFX, Lava, 3D stuff. Okay, so looks like in here they've nicely separated everything, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete all this other stuff. I could probably just do this. There we go. Great. Just the chair, that's all I need. Center it in here. And let's save that. Now I can come into After Effects. I'm going to create a new solid. And this is going to be a little bit complex. What I want to do is I'm going to create a chair that is sinking into the ground. So I'm going to use Element by Video Copilot. This is how I do all of my rigid body 3D stuff. Mostly because I don't love getting very far outside of After Effects, because I'm really comfortable working in After Effects and not so comfortable working in other packages. So let's import a 3D object, C4D version. Great. Chair. I love it. I want to align it to the bottom. So it's sitting like that. And then for the texture, I'm going to go to my Pro Shaders 2. Let's see. I do have a bunch of wood textures. I don't know if it needs to look like it's made of wood. Wood latch red. Ooh. How about tan? Looks kind of IKEA-ish. Board. Looks really simple too. Kind of like this one. So let's go to its materials, and right now I'm using the physical shaders, which look really cool, but I might tone down the environment multiplier on this wood. I don't really have an environment map of my living room, and I don't think this is going to need to be that reflective, so I'm just going to pick whatever environment is close enough. So let's grab one of these. Let's look at them as thumbnails. These all come with, I think they come with backlight or with the Pro Shaders 2 pack. So it's an indoor setting with some bright light, so maybe this one will kind of work as the environment map. Yeah, let's do that. There we go. Great. I now also want a ground plane. So I'm going to create So I'm creating this plane here, and the reason is I'm going to have try to create a little animation that looks like this chair going blub 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 into water, or into lava, which will be kind of fun. So to make that all really work, what I'm going to need to do is change some of the settings on the texture here. So in the scene materials, I've got this texture for the floor, and I'm going to mess with that a little bit and make its diffuse color just be pure blue. And I'm actually going to use keying for this. So I think this should work pretty well. If I take this plane and make it a little bit bigger. Great. I'm also going to look at the material settings and say that I would like no glossiness, no specular or environment, just the diffuse. Great. Now what I should be getting, you'll see that this little chair appeared right here, right near my scene center, which is great. Within here, I'm going to jump back into Element for a second because I forgot something. This chair, I can assign its auxiliary animation to a channel in here. I'm going to say channel 1, which is great. And then say OK. What that basically does is it means that within group 1, where this all exists, there's this aux channels pull down, where if I want to come into here, I can change the Y position and move this chair up and down. You can see it moving way down there. It's really nice. I don't need to do very complicated animation with it. I just need it to sync and maybe rotate a little bit while it's doing so. So I'm going to also create a group null. Watch this. So it creates a teeny little null right here, and what that null does is it is in control of the whole 3D construct here, which is kind of cool. So what I need it to do is be aligned with our floor layer. So I'm going to go down to the ground, any one of these really, and copy the orientation properties and paste them to it. Now you'll see that the chair is laying down sideways, but really that's just 90 degrees away from being correct. So I can go snap, snap, and now this element floor is aligned with my 3D floor, which is perfect. So I can take this null and I can move it through space, and wherever it looks like it's landing, that is where it will register well with the floor. So I'm going to sort of pretend that maybe this chair was at this table that's over here in the corner that you can't really see. I'm going to rotate the whole element world like that. Obviously this chair is pretty small and this is all pretty big, so we're going to go into the auxiliary channel for channel 1. I'm going to change the scale until that chair looks like it's kind of a kid chair sitting on the floor, which is great. Now if you want, I can solo this for just a moment and solo my far background footage. So what you'll see is as the camera moves, that element piece of 3D footage is tracked right into the space, which is great. As James and Evan walk past this, I can kind of see that this chair is a little small for now. On this element layer, I'm going to add keying color range. Actually, let's do key light for the blue. That way, we just see the chair for the moment. And you may be asking why I'm doing it that way, and the reason is it's actually great. When I go to my channel 1 Y position and I sync the chair, it's now syncing into the blue plane, but because the blue plane is being keyed out, it just looks like it's going straight into the floor. Once the lava level is there, it's going to look like it's sinking into the lava, so we've got a nice little setup here to make this chair getting occluded by something on the ground. Now, it looks like this chair actually kind of matches the size of where this table would be. So now all I need to do is sort of match that general lighting. So we'll go to our lighting setup under render settings. It uses the comp lights, so I could create a light here and point it at the chair and some ambient and point it at the chair, but I'm going to try my luck with one of these built-in lighting looks. I'm going to start with cinema. So it looks like it added a little bit of light on it. If I go to the additional lighting controls, you'll see that I can rotate this lighting all around my chair. So when you rotate the lighting, you can kind of get the sense of what each of these presets does. The cinema one seems to have one light that's kind of bright, one that's a little bit cooler. And so if I look at something like this table, it looks like it's kind of bright on top, a little bit dark in the back, and I'm going to see if I can get something that kind of balances to look a little bit like that. That seems to work all right. If I rotate this lighting up a little bit, maybe rotate the whole thing. Now I feel like that's generally what is supposed to be happening. It's bright on the top surface, dark on the back faces, with a little bit of bleeding in light, which is kind of neat. This chair is going to be a really small part of this animation, so I'm not really worried about its look being perfect. It's not a really big feature, it's just something extra for fun. So let's dial back to our group 1 aux channels, channel 1 info. The chair still looks a little small, so I'm going to scale it up to look like it's the size of a chair that might be one of James' toy chairs or, kiddie table chairs. We'll set some keyframes for the position, some keyframes for the rotation. I'm going to move it a little bit closer to this table, like it was sort of scooted up to the table. And now, as the camera comes back, because it's tracked nicely to the camera, you almost don't really notice it at first because it just looks like part of the scenery. What's going to happen, though, is I would like it to, over time, be rotating kind of backwards and sinking into the floor. So I'm going to look at where I put these keyframes. I pressed U, by the way, and that revealed all of these keyframes on this layer. I'm going to say right as it gets revealed, it's standing up nicely. And then starting around here, I would like it to start to lean back and sink into the floor. So I want it to rotate backwards in X, which is great, and be sinking into the floor. So I want it to rotate about that far back. I'd like it to start to kind of move down all the way under the floor, but I also want it to drift forward a little bit because that's the way our lava is moving, and I want it to drift a little bit outward just so we get to really see it. And then all of that combined with it sinking down into the floor. So kind of a fun effect. I can turn these into ease keyframes with F9. And then you'll see that the chair is sort of there as the kids run past it. I'm previewing all these with everything else off just so I can really focus on the chair. So as they run past it, it starts to sink into the floor. And disappear. It's a little slow. It could be a little bit faster. And one thing that's going to help it a little bit is it's very linear right now. I'm going to have the whole thing rotate about its y-axis a little bit as this is happening. I think that'll be kind of cool. And I'm going to have it move all the way underground, position all the way underground. And I'm going to also have that all happen a little bit faster. So I'm going to drag these keyframes forward a little bit. That way the boys are jumping down, stuff is happening. That chair is just sinking into the ground behind them. I think that starts to sink slowly, gains a little momentum, and then I think that in real lava physics, it would sort of start to hover around here a little bit. So I'm going to change these back to ease keyframes, reveal the little curve for them, and make it so this last part, all of these curves are a little bit more stretched. So it gains a little bit of momentum like when it breaks the ground of lava, but then it kind of really slowly sinks, kind of like it's getting harder to sink, like in quicksand at some point. So it's just, I can stretch it out a little bit more now because this part is so accelerated. It's the Y rotation. Should start at 0. There we go. So that chair is just kind of sinking in the background. I kind of like the look of that. Great. This whole chair, I can, as a start position, maybe move it farther forward into frame. Make it a little bit more noticeable. It'll just sink in place now. Okay, the basics are done on the chair, so I'm going to turn off these solo switches and see what the whole comp looks like now. Let's move this layer, which I should maybe rename element chair. Save. Now element composites all the 3D stuff technically on one 2D layer, so it needs to be in the right layer stack order, in which in this case is down below the atmosphere, below the little added fires, and below the lava blast. So that already starts to blend it in a little bit more by adding in some of the glow in front of it, which is great. I'm also going to now take a look at some of this stuff. It's being keyed by Keylight right now. I can play with those settings a little bit. It's a very straightforward blue key, which is nice, so it comes out really easily. But I'm going to do a matte choker on top of that just to soften up some of these edges a little bit. And also, yeah, let's give us a little bit of a better look. I'm going to try to tint this chair to match the colors of this table over here, and I'm going to add a toner to it, whereby I grab values directly from the table. So its mid-tone is sort of in this brown realm. Its highlight is sort of in this bluish, reflecting the sun realm. its darks are kind of, I know it just sampled itself, but just want a black from the scene that kind of matches. I'm going to turn up the lighting effect in here on the element side. Let's go back to that lighting brightness multiplier. Let's turn that up. What that's doing is just adding a little bit more light to the top here. I want it to sort of look like it fits in that realm. Let me see if I need to rotate this lighting around in any different direction than it's facing right now. Looks like we're in kind of a good space around here. I'm going to look at the keyframes for this again and stretch them out even more. So that chair is maybe starting to sink already. And that low poly thing is going to look a little silly. Maybe because of the light. Maybe I can minimize it. Maybe you won't notice it until we're past this point anyway. Maybe I can tilt the chair so as we reveal it, it's already sinking. That works for me. So James says because the floor is lava, we pan back. You see this chair just sinking. I realize this chair needs to be behind the bubbly, turbulent displace map. There we go. That blends it into the space a little bit better anyway. So now that that's blended in, let's play this back. There we go. It's sinking into the ground right here, which is cool. There we go. I think this was a fun touch. I really like adding in little things that make the world a little bit more exciting. And what's even nicer is that I can grab this null that all of my element is attached to and just rotate it a little bit this way so you get a little bit more detail of this being a chair back right at the beginning. Play that through. Get to see the chair sinking right as the boys walk by it. Adds a little bit more danger to the stuff that they're walking on. I'm going to add in some flame right in front of it too, so it looks like the chair is burning up. Yeah, that's nice. That's kind of fun. We've never gotten to see that in one of these videos, really, is the stuff just sinking into the lava. Great. Love it. All right, let's take in some of this fire. Let's steal it from right over here. I'm going to duplicate it, kill its positional keyframes, the old ones, and I'm just going to bring it forward. Looks like the position of this is that. I'll copy that. I'll paste that to this fire, which should put it right here for me. I'll comp it in front of the chair. Move this way. Blending mode is add on this one. I'm going to turn that up. There we go. Let's rotate this so it's more facing camera. Change the scale a little bit. Great. So this, for this part, I really just want a smaller piece of flame. I don't want all that stuff to the side, so I'm going to do that, and I'm going to adjust the anchor point so I know exactly where I'm placing my fire in space. There we go. So that puts it right there. I'm going to offset it a little bit so it's not in the exact same flame pattern as back there. Scale these down a teeny bit. Great. Now it looks like this will probably need some position keyframes because the nature of the chair is just that it's altering all the time. So I'm going to move it up to begin with. Fire will be sinking down. As the chair continues to get gobbled up, I'm going to move the flames over just to be in front of the chair a little bit. Then they'll disappear. Great. I'm going to press Control, click on those. Just give some nice flame right near the bottom of this chair as it sinks in. It's kind of fun. You see the lava engulfing this part of the chair too. Now something that'll make this also kind of fun is if this ground texture we're changing a little bit because of the chair. And I think I can do that pretty easily. I'm going to use my friend split screen to do this. If I go to ground, I can say, I can highlight its window here and then go to window, view, new viewer. And you'll see what that does is it made a copy of the ground pre-comp and locked it. Now over here, I can actually switch this back to the lava full comp and stay working in the ground pre-comp level. Now watch this. I'm going to add a new solid, which is going to change the floor black. And then I'm going to kind of guess that maybe around here, there's going to be this black mark that I'd like to put on the ground. Now this part is a little bit confusing, but it's sort of like the rain that I was doing with James when I was trying to create splashes near his feet. This is obviously the texture being applied over here. And what I want to do is I want to make it look like there's sort of dark, embery stuff spreading out from the chair as it sinks. So as I scroll through here, I can kind of find where this black mask should be. And then I can add some keyframes and some cool stuff to it. I'm going to start with stylizing this with a roughen edges effect. Now I'm going to turn the border on the roughen edges up really high, and that'll give me this cool, interesting shape. And now as you see over here, you just see this like crud kind of appearing all around the lava here, which is kind of nice. And as I move this around, I can sort of align it with the parts of the chair that are going into the ground. So I'll add some keyframes on the mask path. So when we're right here, I can kind of shrink down, and there's not very much crud in the lava, as it were. And then as we sink in deeper, I'm going to make some of that black stuff appear. And then as we get deeper, this is going to get wider. And then after the chair sort of sinks, I'm going to kind of leave it hovering there for a little bit, but I'm also going to shrink it back. Whoopsie. I'm going to shrink it back. There we go. So now what you see is this pattern appears here. I'm going to add a second roughen edges on top of it. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to now add a very small scale little stipply pattern all around it, but I wanted to keep those large blobs from the first roughen edges. So we'll widen those out a little bit, and that just gives it a lot more grit and detail. And then on top of all that, it doesn't really need to be this black, because obviously wood doesn't transform right into that. So I'm going to sample a different color for the solid. I'm going to actually sample the wooden chair color from this comp. That's maybe not dark enough, so we'll play with it. cycle through some different evolution options here. What I'm looking for is for this part to kind of be married a little bit better. There we go. So now I can exit my 2-viewer mode by closing that window. And now if I switch over, it'll switch right back. Now when I play through, I can just watch this fire kind of appearing. A little bit of burning up. And as the chair sinks in, it's kind of like it's melting, or little particles of it are coming off and going out into the ground. So I think that will be the last detail that I add to this. Maybe I'll throw in a little bit of smoke surrounding that chair. But that should be a really fast one. Let's go to smoke. Can't remember if I like, it's probably one of these. Let's tidy up this stuff into our stock. Puffy smoke. Let's see. It could look like something burning up. That definitely looks like something burning up. Too close. Too far. Number 1 is the winner. So we'll stick in the smoke, turn it into a 3D layer. We're going to move its anchor point all the way to the bottom here. And then let's see if I still have that position data saved in the... Great, I did. Just pasted that from the center here. I'm going to go to my, let's see, generate a fill. I'm going to make it black. So it looks like it's burning this up. As I scroll forward, I can just look and scroll, move this smoke forward, really line it up with this chair. It looks like it's going way off the top of this comp anyway, so I can probably shrink this down a little bit. There we go. So that smoke can probably just be there the whole time. I see no reason why it wouldn't be creating this terrible burn pattern here. Now, the reason the couch cushions aren't sinking into the lava is because everybody knows that couch cushions are immune from lava. That's just science. So anyway, thank you guys for sticking around. I'm really glad we stuck around to do this last little detail, because it's now my favorite part of this.
Why are we on the couch? Because of flowing lava.
That was pretty great. Well, thank you guys again for tuning in. Please make sure that you've checked out the full video of this, available on EvanTube HD. You can click on the link right there. And also, I'm going to be trying to work on the Polar Express making of after this one, so I'll get that posted as soon as possible. Anyway, have a great day.